over a month later, I'm finally back to continue to show you how to make your own custom creature for Dungeons & Dragons, so let's get into it. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. And like I said, today we're continuing the series of how to build your own custom creature in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I know it's been a while, so if you need a refresher course, or if you need to just look back and see the previous videos that I've done where I cover stuff about the creatures as in ability scores and damage and those kind of things, go back and check those videos out and then come back here and watch this one, because today we're getting into things such as speed, saving throws, saving bonuses, and some special traits for your creatures. All that said, as we continue building your creature, let me know in the comments below what kind of creature you're building and what kind of special traits and speed and stuff you're adding to your creature to make it a little more interesting. So the next thing on our list is the creature's save DC. Now the save DC, or difficulty challenge of a creature, is a number that you use as the Dungeon Master when the target of this creature needs to save itself from an attack or an action or something like that. And that's another good way to know when you need to ask your players to do a saving throw versus an ability check is, are the players saving themselves somehow, or are they just doing something? And then you'll know if they're saving themselves, it's a saving throw. If they're just doing something, it's an ability check. That's just a little side note. But let's figure out how to make this monster's save DC, or the number that your players will have to try and beat in order to save themselves from your creature's abilities or actions. So the first method, of course, is you can use the Monster Statistics by Challenge Rating table, and it has a save DC number listed there, and you can just pick that and use that. But instead, let's take a little step further, look at how we actually do the math to figure out our own creature's save DC. The save DC comes from three things. First off, the number 8, add to that the creature's proficiency bonus, which is kind of determined by the creature's challenge rating, and we talked about that earlier. You should have that listed down somewhere on your creature sheet. Then on top of that, you add the ability modifier for the relevant ability for this save. Now, how do you determine what is the relevant ability modifier for this save? Well, it's really your choice. You can decide what you want this save to entail. But I like to think about it from this perspective. What will the target have to do to save itself? Will it have to dodge out of the way of some sort of big explosion? Will it have to resist a mind attack with some intense willpower or concentration? If you think about what the target will have to do, that will make it easy for you to then decide what the save DC will be, because then you can choose the ability score that you would attribute to the target's action. So if the target has to dodge out of the way, as an example, you could look at dexterity as the relevant ability modifier that you would need to add to this save DC. If it's something more mental, you could use wisdom or intelligence as the save DC and add that to the numbers you had previously. That's 8 plus the proficiency bonus of the creature plus the relevant ability score modifier. Then you have the save DC for that creature. Note that down, because you're going to need that later when it comes to deciding the other actions and other special traits that your creature will need, or just to use it in combat. Next on our list of building our creature is special traits. Some creatures have special traits. Just because you make a creature doesn't mean it has to have a special trait, but some creatures do, and you're more than welcome to add some special traits onto your creatures. Now this, you're really only limited by your imagination. What is a trait that you want your creature to have? Do you want it to breathe underwater? Do you want it to glow in the dark and be able to see things in the dark? Think of things like that you might want your creature to do. Another good option is go in the Dungeon Master Guide and look at the table in there of monster features. It has a whole list of features and traits that your monster can have, and it tells the effect it will have on the strength of the creature in terms of the challenge rating, which we talked about previously. Now, I think it's a good idea to read through this table because it's just interesting stuff, and it might spark your imagination on what your creature might have special, unique trait to it. Also, when you look at this table, if it doesn't have what you're looking for, you can always take something off of the table and then alter it slightly to fit your needs for your creature. So consider that as well in building your creature and looking at your special traits. I highly recommend look at the monster features table and then use that as a guide. The reason I say use that as a guide is because some features and some traits of your monster will change the strength of it. Others won't, And this table has a pretty extensive list of different things, and it tells the changes that it will make if it is making changes. Part of this is spellcasting abilities, and some creatures have spellcasting, whether it's just an innate natural skill that they have or something they more learn and use. Whichever spellcasting trait you're going to use, I'm going to cover that in a separate video because there's a lot of different things that can go into it and things you need to think about when giving your creature some magic abilities. So also keep that in mind though, if you are adding spellcasting, it is going to change the strength of your creature on the paper in terms of challenge rating. Next up, we got to determine your creature's speed. How fast does your creature move? Now, every creature in Dungeons and Dragons, pretty much every creature, has some sort of walking speed or a movement across ground. A human, for example, has 30 feet, and you can use that as a good baseline for determining how fast your creature is. And really, when you're determining a speed, all you do is think of a number that you want. How fast do you want your creature to be, and write that down. It doesn't really change the strength of the creature in terms of challenge rating, but it does make it faster or slower depending on your creature design. So if you do have a lumbering, slow-moving creature, maybe not make it as fast as a human, maybe make it a little slower, maybe make it 15 or 20 feet movement, something like that. Give it the flavor that your creature deserves based on your description of it. Now, I did say every creature has a walking speed, but also some creatures can have other types of speed. You have options for swimming, burrowing underground like digging through the dirt, climbing speed is a thing, and flying speed is also a thing. So those are also options you have when giving your creature some speed. Are they a bird? Do they fly? Give it some flying speed. A special thing to note though, when you give your creature the ability to fly or a flying speed, you do need to add 2 to your creature's effective armor class. Now, I did do a video where I mentioned effective numbers, effective statistics, so it's not the same as a regular armor class, but it's the effective armor class of that creature. Because it's able to fly, it's a little bit tougher, so keep that in mind. Add that 2 onto it if the creature has flying. The next thing on our list is the saving throw bonuses. Now, some creatures are especially good using a certain ability score to save themselves. A creature might be very acrobatic, and so their dexterity might get a special bonus to their saving throws. This is another thing where you just get to decide what this creature is good at, and all you have to do is decide the ability score that this pertains to, and then add your creature's proficiency bonus to that score, and note that down as a saving throw bonus. A really good example of this is if a player were to cast the spell Thunderwave at your creature would have to make a Constitution saving throw. Now, if your creature is especially sturdy, they'll likely have a bonus to their Constitution, which is a +2 or 3, whatever the proficiency bonus of your creature might be. So all you have to do is decide which of your ability scores your creature will have this extra bonus to use, and then note that down on your piece of paper. Now, giving your creature more than 1 saving throw bonus does affect the strength of your creature and makes it effectively more difficult for your players to defeat in combat, so that does change the challenge rating. So if you decide to give your creature more than 3 saving throw bonuses when you're just deciding what it's good at, then you need to add another 2 onto the effective armor class of your creature. Now remember, effective is not the same as real armor class. The effective armor class will need a +2. If you decide to give your creature 5 or more saving throw bonuses, which is a lot, considering there's only 6 ability scores, if your creature has 5 or more saving throw bonuses, that creature is going to get a +4 to its effective armor class. So you can see how that can really boost the difficulty of this creature and make it a lot stronger, depending on how many saving throws it has or saving throw bonuses it has in itself. If you need to get a recap of other monster creation videos that I've made, go ahead and click this video over here. And if you need to see the next one, which is coming up, go ahead and click this video over here. And of course, I've been Richard Quiner. Thanks for watching.